So before we get into the preview of the Eastern Conference playing game, I'm going to just quickly explain what I'm going to do with the previews and reviews in terms of this season in the playoffs. So what I'm going to do is, besides the fact that I'm previewing the Eastern Conference playing game today, tomorrow I, of course, will be doing the preview for the round of 16 games, and that I'm going to do all the games except for two of them. And those two games is the Philadelphia Union versus whoever is the lowest seed coming out of the play-in rounds, and the Toronto FC versus whoever is the highest seed coming out of this play-in round, because by tomorrow we won't know exactly who those two teams play unless the play-in rounds is going to be finished. And those two games I, of course, will be previewing on Saturday. But other than that, in terms of preview, anytime when we're about to get to the round of 16 or the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and then of course the final, I'll basically do it in just one video. But for the review, this is where it's a little bit different. So for the review, I'm actually going to review every single game and basically release it in an individual video kind of way. So basically, after this game between New England versus Montreal, I am going to release a video about that. And then after this game between Nashville and Inter Miami, I am going to release a video about that game too in a separate video, because during the playoffs, there's definitely more things that I, of course, will talk about during the games compared to regular season game. And the other thing that is good about the playoffs is that all of these games are pretty much playing in a time where there's going to be no overlaps, where I have to keep an eye on two games at a time, so I can just solely watch these playoff game and kind of take down as much notes as possible, and then I can basically analyze in the review to talk about what happened in those games. And last thing I want to mention is that during the preview, I will not wear any team jersey, because I don't want to kind of jinx the team as I am doing the preview of these games, although I kind of already jinxed the team by the way that I basically filled out my bracket earlier. And also, there's no prediction box that I'm going to do with the preview, because again, since I already filled out the bracket, I'm just going to let that as my prediction of what's going to be happening in the playoffs. But that being said, let us actually get into the first game of tomorrow's Eastern Conference playing game, which is the New England Revolution versus Montreal Impact. This game kicks off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. I believe this game is going to be on FS1, and this one is going to be on ESPN. If that is not the case, then it's pretty much vice versa. But I know there's going to be one game that's going to be on ESPN, and one game is going to be on FS1. But this one, between New England and Montreal, New England, of course, finished the season in 8th place with a record of 8-8-7. Montreal, of course, finished the season in 9th, but they actually had a losing record of 8-2 and 13 games. Now, in terms of the last 5 head-to-head matchup, well, the last time both of these teams met, it was New England winning 3-2 on the road against Montreal. And don't let that scoreline distract you, the fact that that was a dominant performance by the New England Revolution, and that they could have won more than just 3-2, and that Montreal did kind of score a late goal to kind of make this game look a little bit closer than it should. But if you actually watch that game, New England was by far the better team. And they, of course, also beat Montreal 3-1, which was their first victory at home during that game. Before, in the MLS back tournament, they were able to win 1-0 against Montreal. Now, before that, all the way back in the first matchup between both of these teams, Montreal did win 2-1 against New England. Before, it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. Now, the key points coming into this game for New England, obviously, it's going to be about their attack. Like, we know their defense is going to be good, and we know that Matt Turner is going to be once again on his A games in this one. But the big question for New England is going to be on the attack, and can they actually be effective on the final third and put away those chances? Obviously, throughout this season, that has been the Achilles heel of New England, with the way that even though they at times look effective when they're in the final third, they just could not put away their chances. Or there's time whenever they get to the final third, they just don't know what to do with it and just kind of hesitate with it, and they basically messed up on the attacking end. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not if that they can, of course, be effective in this game. Obviously, a lot of that will have to do a lot of the way that I think this team, if their attack is going to be effective, is going to be on the hand of Carlos Hill, who I think he should be able to play the full 90 minutes in this game, but we shall see whether or not that's the case. Now, for Montreal, their key points and their question is, can they be successful in terms of sitting deep and counter on the attack? Like, I know for a fact that this is probably going to be a game where New England's going to have all the possession, and Montreal is just going to try to sit back and trying to catch New England on the counter attack. But the thing is, can they do that successfully? They have done it successfully at times, but then there's times where they don't do it successfully, and they've been very leaky at the back, and that they get exploited at the back. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, of course, do that. But either way, as I said in my prediction, I think New England should be able to win this one, judging by the fact that they've been pretty decent against Montreal for the past couple of games. But we shall see what's going to happen in this one. Now, in the next Eastern Conference playing game, and probably one of my favorite matchup and kind of my dream matchup in terms of the playing round, is the expansion derby between Nashville SC versus Inter Miami. And like I said, whatever happens after this game, there's going to be history that's going to be made, with one of these teams becoming only the third team to ever win a playoff game. This game, of course, kick off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Nashville, of course, finished the season in 7th place with an identical record as New England with an 8-7 record, but Nashville does have the tiebreaker over New England to get themselves into 7th position. While for Inter Miami, they finished the season in 10th place and just got into the playoffs on the final day of the season, but their record is only 7-3-13, and it's one of the worst record in terms of a team to ever make it to the playoffs in MLS history. Now, in terms of the head-to-head matchup, there's only been 2 other meetings between both of this expansion team and in the expansion derby, and both of those meetings has been very low scored. Actually, it's not just very low scored. There's only been 1 goal that's been scored in both of these meetings, and I have a feeling something tells me it's going to be similar in this game, where this is going to be another one of those low scoring game, and maybe there's going to only be 1 goal in it, and that whoever scored that first goal is probably going to win this game. Now, the key points in this game is that if Nashville is going to try to do their classic way of just able to get a goal and win the game by a final score of 1-0, can they of course do it, and that will they of course have enough on the attack to win this game? For the past couple of games, or at least for this season, there's been times where the answer to that question is yes. They do have the attack to win a game, and it kind of showed in the last game against Orlando City, where some of those attacking pieces that they got in the offseason, especially one of them that they just recently got in Hunda Cadets, stepped up late in the game by scoring the winner in the 4th minute of stoppage time. The question is, can he of course do that again, and will this attack have enough to be able to stifle this Miami defense? Well, for Miami, obviously this is by far going to be the weakest team coming into the playoffs, but they do have some big name player on their team, and even though I know both of these teams are not going to have a lot of experience in the playoffs, both of these teams does have some players that does have some experience in the playoffs. I know for Nashville, Dax McCarty is a great example of how he has experience in the playoffs. And for Miami, even though when you look at all these guys that don't usually have playoff experience in MLS, they definitely have experience in terms of knockout performance, and especially some of these biggest stars like Gonzalo Higuain, Rodolfo Pizarro, and even Blaise Matuidi. Like Matuidi and Higuain, both of them are guys that been in the knockout round of the Champions League, and some of them even been in the biggest stage in this game. So I don't think they're going to have a lot of issue in terms of lack of experience heading into the playoffs in MLS, because they've been through these even bigger knockout competition before. Whereas Pizarro, he's been in a knockout competition, especially in Liga MX with Rayados, a team that he was actually part of the team that won the CONCACAF Champions League and also won Liga MX. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not if those players will step up for them. I mean, so far this season, majority of those players hasn't really stepped up so far. But the question is, can they, of course, do it in playoff time? And if they can do it in playoff time, and all those guys can actually be decent, this Miami team could be a very quiet sleeper kind of team, and could actually be a team that could surprise a lot of people heading into the playoffs. But we shall see how this game is going to go. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview in terms of these two playoff games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these two games, and also let me know in the comments your prediction for both of these Eastern Conference playing games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.